up winning 4v5. So there was a lot of, if you were to just base it off of what we saw 2 days ago, you'd say, oh, MDK is going to be the favorites.
Yep.
But we know that's never how League of Legends actually works.
Exactly. We've seen this from PSG in the past. You know, we saw them at MSI. They got 3-0'd by G2, and then they go 5 games against BLG, right? They can have those up and down performances. We know that they can play to a high level, and if they're on their game, they can definitely challenge MDK. We can see Elyoya not going to be playing the Nidalee after 2 games of that the other day. Looked very dominant on it, and PSG will take that away. While on the other side, MDK going to be banning out Sejuani. Of course, really strong pairing with those melee soul laners that are so popular, along like the Akali we saw from Maple the other day.
I really loved the interview from Elyoya after winning both games on Nidalee with the jab at his own teammate, Mirwin, who had played a lot of Nidalee top. So that is a double ban for PSG. And I also do think that MDK, even though they were able to get the 2-0 in day 1, had the misfortune of being the very first team to play at Worlds, so their meta read, even though they won, might still be wildly different today. And this is going to be their 3rd blue side game in a row at Worlds. They're actually they're actually blue side both of their games against Vikings, and their bans are completely different than they were. They were banning Jax, Senna, Ziggs. Now they banned Sejuani, Aurora, Zyra.
And this is something that PSG really does quite a lot, is they don't ban towards the meta, they ban towards their opponents. You'll notice that all of the champions that they banned were played in both games from Mad in their last series. 2 games of Jinx, 2 games of Cassante, 2 games of Nidalee. They say, nope, not today. You're going to have to show us something different. And Skarner, which has been getting a lot of talk, a lot of attention in Champions Queue and in Solo Queue, is going to get locked in here. We have had it play a couple games already in the jungle. Can be a very strong pick.
Absolutely, and especially with the tank jungler archetype being pretty much Sejuani Skarner, maybe a little bit of Maokai, but we haven't seen that much of it. So having the Skarner ban, or the Sejuani banned and first picking the Skarner, very strong. I also wouldn't be surprised to see this Ashe locked in here. It was banned in both of Mad's games on day 1, and it was banned in 2 out of 3 of PSG's games on day 1 as well. So I think that's going to continue to be a high priority pick if it's not banned.
Yeah, Wukong continuing its high priority as well. It is already the most picked jungler so far in play-ins and is going to continue that trend here, as it likely will be going to Junja there in the jungle. Of course, it can theoretically be flexed to top lane, but you don't see that very often. So we are definitely operating on the assumption that it is going to be in that jungle. Ziggs going to be getting locked in here over on the other side for Mad. And of course, this could be going bot, this could be going mid, so definitely nice to have those early flex picks.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about the day 1 power picks, I'd say MDK kind of has their pick of the litter here, with Renekton being one of the strongest, to me, probably the strongest blind pick top laner you can have. And then Skarner and Ziggs were banned out of their entire series on day 1. So they have what they think to be a very powerful 1-2-3, I'd have to say.
I mean, it's also really interesting because while Ziggs is very common in the meta, it's not been common for MDK. Not a single game played by Supa or Frescowy this whole year, you know, in the LEC. So it is a new pick that they're obviously going to be bringing in here.
And that's just a blind pick Akali. We don't have the mid laner yet for Frescowy. There will be 2 bans that PSG will be able to use to protect Akali, but this is just Maple tripling down on what's worked already. He won both of his games of his previous series with Akali.
I mean, he looked really good on it. You know, even early on in the lane was playing it out very well, was such a big factor in their series win. Definitely was dominating on it. As you said, they do have some bans to, you know, throw towards MDK to try to protect that, but it is going to be Leona getting taken away for now, and we'll have to see, you know, is this going to be mid Ziggs? Is this going to be bot Ziggs? Bot definitely is kind of more common these days, but mid can be really powerful as well.
Definitely a possibility to have that flex. I also want to talk about Maple's Akali just a little bit more. I liked his post-game interview after they had the poor meta read in game 1, picking pretty much champions that were meta 3 patches ago before Worlds. He simplified it. He just said, we wanted to do less laning, more fighting. And he seems like they want to do that here with Akali, Wukong, and Ashe all having pretty big go buttons with their first 3 picks.
And it's going to be so interesting, you know, to see what kind of strategy MDK comes out. Obviously, they did back-to-back lane swaps. You know, that was really a lot about enabling Supa on the Jinx, funneling as much gold as possible into his pockets. But lane swaps can be quite effective with the Ziggs as well. Obviously, crushes through towers can be pretty effective there. Final bans coming through here from PSG. It is going to be double support bans towards Alvaro here, with the Nautilus and the Leona getting taken away. And if they really want to pinch the pool, they could even grab something along the lines of a Rel or an Alistar and really kind of try to limit his options.
they actually got the Vayne ban out of MDK. They won with it technically in Game 3. Udyr has also been one of Aja's big picks. He pulled it out at MSI. It's just a hover for now, though. I think that's fairly bold to pull out against Renekton. But it's locked.
Yep, it's going to be locked in. So some new picks coming through in play-ins. Going to be the Udyr coming out here for PSG. Pretty melee heavy, though, you have to say. It's 3 melee laners up on the top side. And MDK now having the option to respond. Still waiting to find out if this is going to be mid or bot and what exactly they are going to do.
Yeah, and what kind of advantage can Mirwin get in the top lane? The Camille hover seems interesting, but unlikely since we are expecting Renekton to go top lane.
Yeah, unless they're really cooking. Oh, they're going to lock it.
They're cooking.
This could actually
they might
be...
throw the Renekton mid.
This could be Renekton mid. This also could be Camille support, which is kind of a bit of a throwback. So there are some different options here. They are putting out a lot of different potential flex picks here. You know, Ziggs can go in different roles. Camille can go in different roles. Renekton can go in different roles. Even Skarner technically could be top, though we haven't seen it in top lane in a long time. I'm not expecting that. But you can see the smile on their faces. They are absolutely cooking, and it looks like they are going to be rounding this out. Rel, you know, potentially to get locked in here. So it is going to be Rel support. So we are going to be having solo lanes of the Renekton and the Camille. Where each one goes remains to be seen, but I am kind of expecting the Renekton to go mid. It is very strong against a lot of these kind of evasive mid laners. You know, traditionally it was considered a really big counter into like champions like Yasuo and stuff, but it also could be quite strong into the Akali, I think. And I also feel like Camille definitely can match up pretty well against the Udyr, though the early lane could be quite difficult. So, you know, maybe they want to put that mid and then have the Camille splitting later against the Udyr once you start to outscale. I'm not exactly sure where they're going to go, but I am predicting it would be Renekton mid.
And also, MDK swapped both games that they played so far at Worlds. So maybe they're just going to do that to PSG and do a skill check on how much lane swap movement they have memorized. I do want to call out some support stuff, though. I saw PSG trying to pinch the engage supports, but obviously leaving Rel open. Originally, I was going to say they could have actually just taken away that engage support option, but seeing the Braum locked in on 5 for PSG, I really like that into this team composition with so many melees. Ziggs is the only one who can really attack from range. It's going to be very hard for MDK to play into that Ashe Braum later in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Udyr is very disruptive as well. You can be running around in bear stance, just constantly stunning these people up. You can have the Phoenix Unleash on the ultimate. You know, that's an AoE slow and damage, so it can be quite difficult. But at the same time, as we know, Ziggs Camille, such a classic combo, so strong. You go in with the ultimatum, the Ziggs all comes over the top. They're going to be targeting Betty here on this Ashe almost every single time, you have to think, and it's going to be up to his teammates to either punish Mad for them or be able to peel enough that he can actually survive. Though I think surviving is going to be incredibly hard against this sort of composition for an Ashe, who is very reliant on the flash, and you only get one of those.
It's going to be a really interesting game. It's a very melee-heavy match. There are 4 melee champs on both sides, so 8 of 10 champions are just going to be in the mosh pit.
And the range champions are both just going to be instantly getting targeted every single time.
So it could end up being a fairly snowball-y game. When you have this many melees in a match, oftentimes it ends up degenerating itself into a stat check.
It's an absolute brawl. I am so excited here. We are kicking off game number 1, MDK versus PSG here. We'll have to see if this draft is going to work out for MDK. They are really cooking with it. And we can see both teams just kind of fanning out, not looking like any sort of a lane swap is going to be happening for now. Ziggs down on that bottom side, but PSG obviously were anticipating that there could be a move up and towards that top side jungle, and you can see just how well Maple did the other day on Akali.
And this is the average of his 2 games. So that was plus 22 CSD at 14 on average. It would be 44 CSD at 14 across the 2 games. And with the Braum Ashe, PSG do get to bully their way around and get any early information they want because their level 1 is just straight up stronger. That's why you see MDK backing away, and that's 2 wards placed early. But I gotta say, Alvaro has his sweeper. He's just not actually able to move in because he could instantly die if he checks the wrong bush.
Well, Aja's still not heading up towards top lane now, you know, pinging for assist up there, so maybe you're going to walk up towards that top lane now. Friskawi trying to get a little bit of info, but it is risky to walk into that area. We can see Braum, you know, heading down towards bot, and Supa intelligently sitting here trying to harass a little bit as they do walk in, but Woody able to trade back with the Q.
And a little bit of counter jungling early on from the Wukong. I'm really curious to see how this plays out because it looks to me like PSG was really anticipating a swap, but didn't really want to swap. And that's one of the advantages of swapping on day 1 of Worlds is MDK kind of has PSG guessing now where they just set up for standard lanes.
So Aja just had to use his Ghost to get back up towards top lane, but he did get all the experience there, so obviously it is worth using. They weren't sure exactly what the start was going to be. There will be a trade back from Elyoya, who is going to be able to invade and take away the Raptors at the very least, and we can see Junja on the other side is going to do a full camp clear here. Mirwin really going to be struggling against that early power that the Udyr does bring. That is how a lot of these matchups go against the Udyr. Really can bully you out early and kind of has to create a big enough advantage that the scaling difference doesn't necessarily matter later on. But this is actually pretty clever here from Aja. He's going to go and actually check if the red buff is being taken by Elyoya. Elyoya, of course, has not yet started it, so Aja will get that info that the Krugs are gone, but at least we'll be able to defend that red buff. And Junja's going to cross and be able to take double red, so he will go up a camp at the very least.
Really good damage onto Frescowy as well here. Sure, a little bit gets traded back, but they also should know that the top side of their jungle is fine. So Wukong should be completely okay to get a lot of experience here. Yeah, exactly. He's going to get that extra camp advantage, going to get the double red, going to be feeling quite good about that. So the early game going pretty well for PSG, but of course the gold is basically dead even, is just, going to be a tiny little advantage there over on the other side. But all this trading that Junja was able to get done onto Frescowy, of course, is going to force him to take the early base. And the Hawk shot, always so annoying for junglers to deal with, will spot out Elyoya over on the Gromp. I definitely say, even if the gold doesn't show it, the advantages have been in the favor of PSG. They got to be the ones to do the early invade. I'd say Elyoya had to be really clever to not get found by Aja's Udyr when he was doing that jungle path. And then also the Renekton counterpick is not getting value thanks to Junja's ability to get a bunch of damage onto Frescowy in the mid lane. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's forcing the TP out fairly early, so he comes back. His buy is just longsword and some pots, right? Whereas Maple is going to be able to hold on a little bit longer, go back with more gold, and likely get an advantageous buy as a result. And as Akali does get more levels, this matchup is going to become less of a big deal, though I don't really expect Akali ever to be able to get any sort of all-in kills or anything like that. Akali's more just going to be looking to farm up in this lane and then hopefully be able to pressure that back line in the team fights and really make Supa's life a nightmare. The backline of Ziggs. The backline of this one Yordle, yes. I think it's more important that he gets ahead enough that he can actually duel Mirwin's Camille on the side lane, because that's, I think ultimately that's how PSG is strongest as a team, is when they're able to push side lanes, pressure the map, and kind of generate their gold lead over time. And that's what they're set up to do if they're able to play these solo lanes out well. I have to say, Woody has been really good with those Braum Qs. He's constantly landing them, getting some good harass down on that bottom side as Supa. It does have the biscuits available here. You can see Mirwin trying to trade back, but Aja always going to be winning these trades in the early game on the Udyr, chasing after him, and is able to create a pretty nice advantage. Elyoya playing Grasp, so could expect that he's going toward that Heartsteel Sterix build that was really popular a while ago. It started to kind of fall out of priority, and people started going more just support item rush, things like Zeke's and Locket. But we have seen it pop out a couple times here already at Worlds as Junja trying to get aggressive. They have an HP advantage down here on Alvaro and Supa, and they're trying to play with that. You like to see these teams playing with priority, knowing where they're strong, knowing where they have that edge, and trying to make the most of it. Just trying to get a good reset here for Ashe and Braum. Part of the Ziggs power is the fact that you can just take teleport, so even if they get the tempo here, it's not like Ziggs is going to be losing any CS. But I think overall, just a pretty solid early game from PSG. I think there's a little bit of, I just think it's kind of funny with Mirwin. When I was scouting him, watching a lot of Mad's games, the massive ocean of champions that he played, he had 5 more unique champions than the next closest player on his team. Yet he's the one that's playing what you'd almost consider the stock standard Camille, and now he's having to deal with the Udyr, who no one else is playing at this point. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is interesting, but that I think is kind of one of the strengths of a player like this, is if you can play the meta and you can play those spicy counter picks, then you never really know what they're going to bring out. And obviously, they're bringing out a lot of different stuff here, with the Ziggs that they haven't really played a lot of, and also with the Renekton mid. So already experimenting a lot, but are going to be looking for the grubs here. Mirwin on the roam is going to be here first, and Junja's going to have to get out of there. He is in trouble, does clone away, forced to flash. The team was a bit slow on the rotation as Betty's fighting Supa on the top side, and Woody's going to go forward with the Glacial. He does put the passive onto him. Elyoya going to get stunned up. In goes the Akali, but Maple's in trouble. He gets stunned against the wall, and Maple is down to almost no health at all. Does get out of there for now, but Alvaro flashes over the wall and grabs
the first blood for MDK. Will be traded back, though you have to think, is Alvaro now trying to run? Frescowi, though, playing bodyguard here. He comes in, and PSG are in trouble. Woody's died to Supa. MDK are wiping the map with PSG. 3 straight kills. They crushed the fight and are going to be able to grab the grubs as well.
An absolute disaster for PSG. They were the ones to start the grubs when they didn't even have their team in position. So not only does Aja give away push on the bottom lane to teleport up, they then also lose absolutely everything in the fight. So whatever small advantage that PSG had in the early game pales in comparison to the massive lead that MDK is going to have after this fight. Watching it one more time is just a massive burst of damage from Elyoya right at the start of this fight. Maple can basically do nothing. And the craziest thing about all this is it's effectively 4v5 when this starts, because Frescowi's Renekton is only arriving after the fight is already won.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really disjointed attempt at the grubs here from PSG. You know, they're saying, oh, we have Prow bot, we have Prow top, we can just start this. But they didn't actually have the lanes pushed out. They didn't have the champions there in time. So it almost felt like they're just assuming Mad wouldn't contest them at the grubs. But Mad were down to fight. They saw the positioning was not it from PSG. That stun on the wall really did set up Maple to get burst down very quickly. And as you said, he had almost no impact on that fight. And they did just take the 1 grub, so got that bonus XP and the gold, and are going to be working towards that, but not able to grab any additional grubs, so we likely won't see too many Void Mites this game.
Yeah, but to add insult to injury, check out these summoner spells on the side of PSG. Nobody has any except for Smite, whereas MDK, the only one missing Flash is Rel. Everybody else still has it. So not only do they have the gold lead, they'll have the temporary summoner spell advantage to take the rest of these grubs, or probably even move down to Drake if it doesn't get taken here early by PSG.
Yeah, going to be feeling really good about their position here. MDK creating that big advantage early on, and the fact that Mirwin's able to get involved, you know, get early kills on the Camille, get a couple assists as well, is going to really set himself up for success in those side lanes. Elyoya looking like he was thinking, hey, maybe I just want to wait for Smite to come back up, but is just going to finish it off. Knows there's not really too much risk, and is going to be able to burst that down.
At this point, MDK needs to just continue to play on these advantages and then kind of make sure they don't do anything overly aggressive, because I think they've been granted such a lead after winning that fight. I'm looking at the way Mirwin was actually playing up against Ajit there in the top lane, and he seems to be able to push him off the wave fairly freely. There's very little deep vision to spot anywhere Elyoya would be, so PSG has to be on the defensive here. So I think the next play for MDK is just have Elyoya clear down to the bot lane and start setting up for that Chemtech Drake. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's definitely difficult here for Aja if he does fall behind, and you know, not really in that confident position anymore. You know, there's so much vision, as you're saying, you know, for MDK. So yeah, Mirwin's going to be feeling pretty confident to push up there. And it is going to be Junja starting up the dragon here on that bottom side. It's going to be Hextech as that first dragon. So likely able to finish this off. You can see Skarner heading up towards top side, just going to be able to grab that top side scuttle in response and continue to play behind Mirwin here. Allow him to play aggressively, allow him to be in that position for success. It's a good individual bit of stats here from taking the dragon, but not that big of a deal. And the fact that it is Chemtech, Aja maybe caught out here, going unstoppable there, trying to get out, but the ultimate is there to lock him down, and it's followed up by the Skarner and Pale. Aja still trying to get out of there, but will he be able to do it? They don't quite have the damage to finish him off. The flash forward from Elyoya. He's going to hold aggro. No, he's not. They messed it up. Elyoya thought he had aggro, but Mirwin picked it up, and now Maple's here on the roam, and Mirwin could be on trouble, but Maple doesn't have his flash. I'm not sure he's going to be able to actually close the gap there. Well played by Aja, and a bit of a misstep here as Mirwin went in a little bit too early. That would have been a guaranteed kill if Elyoya was the one holding the tower.
That is huge right there that Aja's able to live through that. It looked like he mistimed the unstoppable on his empowered bear stance because he was trying to use that to prevent the Camille ult. So I thought after that failed, it was going to be an easy kill, but they just did not have the fatal damage. No Trinity Force yet on the Camille, no completed item yet on Elyoya. He is going towards that Heartsteel, and the Udyr just ends up tanking it up and staying alive. That could have been not only a kill, but numerous plates, and it really would have broken the game open.
And that's both flashes and both ultimates for really nothing. He didn't even have, I don't even think he had ghosts to use, so he's able to get out of there, and that's going to leave you feeling pretty good, though. MDK still extending the gold lead here, feeling really good about their spot thus far. It is already a 1,400 gold lead. And Mirwin, despite that not working out, does have a nice gold lead for himself and is going to be a real problem in that side lane going forward.
We will have to keep it eye on Maple, though, because he is the lone lead on the side of PSG, expanding that CS advantage he has over Frescowi's Renekton. But if the side lanes are not creating any advantages on their own, it's hard for the Akali to make an entrance, and here comes a dive.
Yeah, you're looking for Betty. Nice interrupt on the charge. They're not going to get sent into the walls. He has the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to interrupt that Skarner charge, but the ultimate comes out from Ziggs, is going to push Betty back, so they get the damage down. Well played by Betty, doesn't have to use a summoner, just the ulti. But at the end of the day, it is still going to be some more damage to the tower here, and Supa chipping away at this. Ziggs' passive auto damage on that tower has been nerfed a little bit, but still, you are really a big threat if you get any alone time on those towers.
Pretty likely that MDK is going to be able to pick up the first turret of the game if this game state stays relatively similar to this.
Alvaro looking out for Maple here. He's going to pull him in with the ulti. Maple into the Shroud, trying to get out of there, but he's spotted, of course, by the Ignite. Frescowi going over. Will force the flash there from Maple. Nice roam here from Alvaro. Forces the pressure here onto Maple. Means his flash has to be used, and he's low HP.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting game in the fact that it looks like PSG is winning all of these skirmishes. Aja's ability to escape the gank top lane, Betty's ability to prevent the dive bot lane, and Maple escaping there. But then when you think about it, PSG's not making any plays. These outplays are actually them just not losing more than they already were. So here's yet another one. Let's see if he can escape.
Yeah, Aja potentially in some trouble, but the TP is there to support him. Maple looking to wrap around. We don't know if that was fully spotted by them, but they're back here on the grubs. It's just those two that already are remaining. So MDK has already grabbed 4. They're going to try to look for 6, but PSG is coming in here. Look at Alvaro and Frescowi in the backline, already here onto Woody, and on the other side, it's the ulti coming out from Junja. Aja is just chasing after Supa, trying to keep him out of there as Maple is skirmishing here on the side, and Mirwin's getting burst down. The Hextech ultimatum comes through, but the Impale is massive from Elyoya, but it doesn't even matter. PSG running over MDK as back-to-back grubs fights go the opposite way this time. First it's MDK crushing, and then it is PSG returning the favor and taking mid-play towers off of this as well.
Tale of 2 grub fights. I mean, this is all of the action in the entire game has been at the grub pit. So what is the big difference this fight compared to last fight? And to me, it's that PSG was playing at range very well. Watch Betty down on the bottom side, completely untouched, no one can get onto him, and then Maple actually gets to be in the middle of the fight and get off the damage from his Fedakali. Supa also completely zoned out by the Udyr. Ultimate comes up right at the end, so he was unable to punish the PSG team for grouping up in the middle of the fight.
I've got to say, how much damage was wasted on the Braum? Frescowi was just full targeting the Braum the entire time. You know, part of the reason Maple struggled so heavily in the last fight was he got stunned to the wall, then he's getting stunned by Renekton. It's all this lockdown that takes away the mobility, that takes away the ability for Maple to look for those outplays. So I do think Frescowi definitely wasting almost all of his damage there on Woody. Doesn't even end up killing him. He had the Unbreakable up before he even got stunned. Definitely some mistargeting there from MDK, but PSG take full advantage of it, and now the game is ever so slightly back into their favor. They already have that first early dragon here as Frescowi back up towards that Herald pit, and Elyoya going to be working on that with him. We'll see if Junja's going to try to respond with a dragon and just take their second down on the bottom side. As we can see, Maple's down there. He's going to be looking to push, and all the vision here from PSG is really focused on that bot side river. It's clear where they want to play.
They're definitely going to be playing for this bot turret and this bot dragon, pushing Mirwin back as much as possible. I gotta say, MDK is probably feeling a little bit of pressure here because I really do feel like they had so much control on the game, but then all of their attempts of breaking the game open didn't quite work, and then they didn't have the advantage that they would have liked going into that last grub fight, which then was a disaster.
Absolutely, you can see in this lane economy snapshot powered by MasterCard there. As Elyoya looking up towards the top side, Aja pretty far back, has outranged it, so we'll be okay, just back it up. We saw that power from Ziggs though, ulting down towards bot lane, was able to push the previous siege here from PSG, but now with 3 members down there, plates have fallen, and Mirwin has no chance to defend this. And you can also see that Maple adjusting his build here against this melee-heavy, pretty tanky team. He does go towards the Leandries as opposed to kind of this really bursty build that he was actually doing yesterday, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
And it looks like MDK's actually trading up. They've gotten 2 turrets for 1, but now there's an Udyr flank.
Yeah, Aja in some trouble here potentially, but they don't quite have the damage to burst them down. Elyoya's coming down, as is Frescowi. All 5 members from MDK are here, but a nice pink ward over the wall does spot it. So Maple gonna finish his recall, and PSG just going to play for mid lane prio.
Yeah, they're going to try and equalize this trade. Right now it's 2 turrets to 1 in the favor of MDK, with PSG getting the bonus for the first turret. And it doesn't look like they're going to be able to push in and finish off this mid turret for now, with Ziggs there for the defense. So temporarily, that's a gold positive play for MDK.
Yep, feeling pretty good about it. Yoya continuing to farm away, does have the Heartsteel now completed. I'm expecting Sterix. That kind of seems to be the popular build alongside this. Anytime you see Grasp, it generally does signify that's what they're going to be going for. And when you're playing against such a melee-heavy comp, there's going to be a lot of brawling, long team fights where he could get a ton of value out of Heartsteel. You're going to be proccing that on multiple members, not only stacking up the HP, but it does a significant amount of damage. So I do think a build like this could be quite strong in this sort of game, as long as Yoya can keep up his farm.
I'm a big fan of this Skarner build. He could really take over if he's able to get a few kills, but as of now, the game is really tight. And Azael, how about Maple? Like, literally his first Worlds game was over 12 years ago. He was on the Gamma Bears against, at the time, SK Telecom T1.
We have some of these Eternal players as they're going to be dropping the Herald down on bot side. Aja trying to keep the wave away, but it won't really matter for long. Junja, Woody, Betty all coming down, and Supa maybe actually caught out. He has to flash away, but Junja chasing after him, and here comes Aja. He's got nowhere to go. Frescowi trying to buy some time for him as Junja is getting low. Supa can't quite finish him off. Junja gets the kill. They force the flash. They do take down one tower and make it a second charge, but at the same time, it's going to cost them multiple kills. And how much can PSG get off of this? Supa just caught in transition. They will, in fact, get that second charge from the Herald. So they do get one tower. They do get some damage on a second, but that for 2 kills, I don't really think it's worth it because Odds is going to push up bot, and he's going to get some damage done himself. Yeah,
I mean, fighting versus laning, as PSG said in their post-game interview 2 days ago. That's now 3 kills on both the Udyr and the Akali, and it's going to give them that side lane advantage as this game progresses, because even if the overall gold is about the same, the Akali and the Udyr are both getting stronger individually. So right there, Aja just completely overpowers the Renekton, runs straight through him into Supa Ziggs, and it just gives Ziggs absolutely no chance to retaliate, and now Maple's going for Mirwin.
Mirwin very low. Aja's coming in for the reinforcements, but Maple doesn't even need it. Executes Mirwin in the top lane. He is on fire on this Akali. 3 straight games, looking incredible on it.
He's the only one playing it, and he's gonna likely force a ban in the next game, especially if PSG ends up winning this game. When you have that much continuous success on the same champion, you're gonna wanna switch something up. So just, it looks like MDK is just a little bit out of sorts after being in control about 10 minutes ago.
And I will say, in the team fights, Udyr is going to be such a problem. Sure, if it's in an isolated 1v1 over time, you know, Camille with so much true damage on the Qs could really focus you down, but like, who is supposed to kill Udyr in the 5v5?
Yeah.
Right? Like, Camille can't actually just sit there and attack Udyr in a 5v5 and expect to win. You can't ignore the Ashe, you can't ignore the Akali. So that is going to be really problematic, because when he's this strong, he can just be charging straight at Supa, keeping him completely out of the fight, and if Supa pulls too far back, then all of a sudden, he's just turning around and stunning and disrupting all of the melee for MDK. So I think the Udyr is going to be quite a problem here for MDK as we go forward. PSG already have those 2 dragons. They're looking towards a 3rd. A nice crash down there from Alvaro. Does dodge the Enchanted Crystal arrow, but it is going to be Mountain Soul, which again, in a game like this, where it is just this melee brawl, is really a lot of stats, a lot of additional power. And MDK is going to have to try to set up for it, try to contest this next dragon, and that's exactly why they are here early and why they're trying to fight for these wards.
I mean, their setup is actually pretty good. They got deep push in the top lane. It allows Mirwin to run down already. Aja has no teleport, so he's going to have to clear that wave and then slowly move down. But while he's up there, PSG is not allowed to enter the river because MDK could probably burst one-shot someone. So this would be where MDK do need to at least get this dragon and continue to accelerate the game, because I completely agree. When you look at the damage of Ziggs versus Ashe, one of those things is not like the other in terms of its ability to scale and kill tanks in the late game.
Yep, absolutely. But Aja's here now, and they are regrouping with the team. Junja a little bit behind. Maple, of course, trying to play on the flank. Aja just walking forward, being so annoying here for MDK. You can see Mirwin on the side looking for a flank, but he's warded out as well. And Frescowi trying to threaten the backline. This is getting a little bit awkward. Junja has been split out from the rest of the team. Nice clone, does dodge away, and he's going to get a double knock up here onto Frescowi. And on the other side, it's Mirwin going after Aja. Junja's in a lot of trouble. Woody's down already. Junja goes back in, tries to flash out, but he can't do it. Maple's in the backline, does get 1 kill with the perfect execution. Now going back in with the Shuriken flip. Can he do it in the 1v2? It doesn't look like it. Maple tries to make it happen, but he's down. And it's Betty and Aja versus the world here. Elyoya trying to chase after him. Mirwin waiting for those cooldowns. Can't quite go in to finish him off, but Mad take the fight and critically take the dragon here, stopping the march to Seoul.
What a bloodbath, and watch Elyoya and Frescowy in this fight. They're the ones who are able to initiate first, and they don't give good angles for PSG to come into the fight. After they're engaging on the Wukong, it's the Rel that flies over with the good Ziggs combo, getting massive AoE damage, and it just splits PSG up enough. Betty wasn't really able to get into position to fight, and all of this fight was originally set up by getting the deep push top lane and being the first to control River, because the fact that PSG had to approach through that choke is why MDK could find the clean engage.
I mean, so much credit. That Rel engage was sick over the wall as well. Like, remember that previous Grub fight that they lost, how much damage they dumped into Woody? This time Woody died instantaneously. Yeah. I don't even think he was able to get the Unbreakable up. He got burst out completely. Maple was doing a lot of work, was close almost to having, you know, enough damage to actually finish off Supa and Alvaro, but wasn't able to do it. And you can see Supa putting in a ton of work in that fight. Nearly 4,500 damage coming out from the Ziggs, and he is working towards that death cap. He is not going for a cowardly build. You're not rushing towards Zhonya's. He is just saying, you know what, I will position properly, and I will really punish you if you are out of place. Maple now looking here for Frescowy. Frescowy trying to retreat back towards his team. The Shuriken Flip does hit. The Dominus is going to be popped. Alvaro is here, and I think that may mean he backs up. But Junja's going in. They have the TP coming through. A nice Magnet Storm interrupts him, snaps him out of the air, and in comes Elyoya, stunning Junja. He's going to go back in, trying to get some healing. He can't get it done. Aja's in the middle of everyone, but that's not where you want to be. MDK crushing through. They get the fight, and they're going to get the Baron.
What a huge play there by Mad. Frescowy gets taken in the 1v1 by Maple, but Alvaro arrives at just the right time to prevent the execution, and then Frescowy isn't even dead by the end of it. That is the swinging point of the game.
And I think that was Alvaro actually snapping Maple out of his Shuriken Flip, out of the air there, interrupting the damage, because if you actually get stopped midair, you stop that damage coming through. He CCs him out of the air as he tries to go in and finish off Frescowy. They all turn on Maple, they burst him down. I want to see if that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so you can see when Maple lands this E, he thinks he has the execute damage, but he has to make it through the Rel, and it is the ultimate there.
That was sick.
So sick. He played so well in their 2 games on day 1. My only criticism is going to be the same criticism I had on day 1. He is not contributing at all to the Rel Death Fund. He is deathless in this incredibly bloody game somehow.
He's playing too well. I hate this guy. I would say he's the MVP in the early stages so far of Mad here at Worlds. Again, looking for the invade, going to be stunning up. Crashdown comes through, and the ultimate is going to be used from Ziggs, pushing Junja back, but the Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes out, and I do think he's overextended here. Alvaro is in trouble. He's been playing great, but overextended there. Supa trying to get some damage in. Elyoya trying to look to go over the wall, but he gets interrupted on the dash. 3-minute impale, but who cares? No one's there until just now. Frescowy comes through. Maple on the side, dodges out from the hookshot from Mirwin as Supa's throwing bombs over the top, trying to get something done, but he can't quite do it. Elyoya flashing over, going to try to get to safety. Shuriken Flip does connect, and the perfect execution is there. Stunned against the wall, but Elyoya has got nowhere to go. Alvaro giveth, and Alvaro taketh away, and made great play after great play, but an overextension there nets PSG a team fight win, and we'll have to see how much more they can get, because they're sieging mid. They're going to get at least the tier 1 off of this.
Baron power play, curse of play-ins seems to be one of the themes. Aja's probably going to die here. Might have gone too far.
Here. Maple is going to go in over the wall. Potentially he's going to go in for it, but I don't think he should. The hookshot is there. He's in the shroud. Betty's around, but Betty's too low to really go forward. Now the passives come, and he's back. Alvaro making good on the mistake from earlier. Finds the re-engage as the overchase from PSG just kills them.
What a mess. This has got to be the strangest type of back and forth game that we've seen, because we were expecting it to be such a snowball with this many melee champions in the game, but the numbers advantages with the fights that these teams are taking are making it back and forth. The original fight there was just a huge numbers advantage for PSG at their own blue buff, and then that was a ridiculous overchase by Aja, Maple, and Betty to have 3 deaths at the back end.
I mean, the gold swing on this is actually crazy. It went from MDK up a couple thousand gold to dead even to back to MDK up like 4,000 gold in the span of about 2 minutes, and here is that initial play.
And you can see Alvaro really feeling strong, but you can see Camille mid lane and Skarner is just approaching from the jungle, so it's 5v3 for the majority of the fight, and then this ultimate would have been great for Elyoya if anybody was actually there. There's no Ziggs up available. Frescowi's a little bit too late to the show, so when they actually do fly in, it is going to be a losing battle, and this absolutely looked like a throw until they were able to pull it back with the extended fight in the top lane.
Yep, absolutely. And now, at the end of the day, that Red Bull Baron power play plus 3K
Totally
for
fine.
MDK, and they're going to be able to get the tier 2 tower right after that. So the gold lead extending even further now. 5,000 plus is the gold lead here as Elyoya taking over the enemy jungle with Alvaro trying to play for vision in this area. They clearly want to deny PSG any chance of getting this next dragon.
Absolutely. Do not want to let them have soul point, but at the same time, they're so strong right now. They're just going to probably hold this siege because they can get this turret with Ziggs if they play it right.
Jinja looking on the side, is trying to threaten here on the Wukong. Of course, has the Cyclone available. Is tough with that Baron buff now expiring. The wave clear definitely good enough for PSG to keep this out. And I think they're just going to say, you know what, we don't have the vision. You take the dragon. Maple will go top. Betty's looking to just grab this red buff. And it should be a no contest here, assuming MDK do go down to that dragon quickly, which it looks like they will.
Yep, with the top wave needing to be caught, PSG is going to make sure they get at least a little bit of gold. I think it most likely would have been suicide if they tried to brute force their way through the mid lane, through the jungle, without vision, against a Ziggs and a Camille and a Rel. It's just one of those things where if they tried that, then they're just going game too fast.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the situation they're in, though, because when you look at this mini-map, there are no real turrets for them to be able to play around. There's just this mid-tier 2, but both the side lanes can very easily get deep pushed. And then this amount of vision that MDK was able to set up in the jungle, that's pretty incredible. And now with the Drake down, they're just going to do the same thing, push mid and top, get a bunch of vision here, and just kind of keep running that same play over and over again, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a good plan here, and it could be pretty difficult for PSG to deal with as you go forward if you don't have vision. There is a lot of pick here between the Camille ult, between the Skarner ult, you know, and the engage here on the Rel. It makes it very difficult to step forward safely whatsoever, and MDK are just kind of closing the jaws of this trap here, slowly cutting out more and more vision. Jinja trying to fight for this, will at least clear out a pink ward, but does lose one of his own in the exchange. As Frescowi pushing in top, just as you said. Maple now looking to rejoin the team here, but isn't confident to walk through his own jungle. Notice how he has to walk the long way away to try to head up towards that top lane and answer that pushing wave.
Yeah, PSG not even willing to push a bot wave deep because they have such little information about where MDK would be. And if Camille ever catches someone on the side lane, they're going to be able to mob that person down. We'll see, though. PSG is thinking about a flank the next time MDK push mid. Watch the Wukong.
Yeah, we'll see. Jinja is pretty far away, but does have a good angle if they were to overcommit here onto someone like Betty. MDK, though, doesn't really have to rush this.
Found him.
Mirwin is spotted out there by Jinja as he walks down. Aja trying to threaten him. Maple fighting for vision again on the side here. Does get the info that Frescowi's over on the side. You can see that hawk shot spotting out Elyoya, who's just always trying to play over the wall, always threatening these angles from Skarner. You have to be so careful because he can come behind you from any moment here, can actually get in behind Betty and try to slam him into a wall, and that would probably be the end of the fight right there.
Yeah, but just as an update, this sequence seems like it's been a little bit slow, but it's exactly the way that MDK needed to play this, because as you can see on the minimap, they have actually moved their vision towards Baron. So they were slowly pushing in the top wave, slowly pushing in the mid wave. The wards on this side expired, and they placed new wards over here. So they've done their job, so to speak, with the Baron spawning now, keeping the mid wave pushed deep, and now they're going to kind of continually force PSG to try and gain this vision back, and ultimately that's going to be where they find their fight to win the game if they win, or where PSG is going to have to find their way back in, is manufacturing some fight with such limited information.
Exactly, and you can see Supa just TP'd back in off that base, has the Void Staff now, has the Death Cap already, so he is massively strong. You know, one ulti on top of Betty could really be lights out. Doesn't require much more than that. Just a Camille ult plus a Ziggs ult onto Betty could really be the end of him. Of course, you know, Woody is going to be trying his best to peel, and Oz just going to try to best to actually keep Supa out of the fight as much as he can, so they can't look for that. But PSG have got to be so careful. You know, as you said, not a lot of towers remaining on their side. One lost fight could be the end of the game here for them. But PSG know that they may find a window, may find an opportunity here to try to claw it back, and they're going to wait for it.
Oh, interesting. Alvaro, pretty rich. He's got the Ward Stone upgrade at level 12. You don't see it that often, but I do love the item when you're having these long extended sieges where you need to set up a bit of extra vision, being able to hold that extra control ward.
I know it's also very gold efficient stats-wise. It's not a popular item whatsoever, but it is actually pretty strong as far as just the stats you get for the gold.
This guy just keeps given us top-level gameplay, made a minor contribution to the Rel Death Fund.
Exactly. That's what he was doing. He heard you.
Mm-hmm.
He heard you complaining over here about the picks.
I just hope he runs into the Nexus at the end of the game if they're winning. That's my one request.
Yeah, fair. I don't think he will, but it's fair that you want it. Not fair that he's going to do it. We'll see. MDK, again, spotted out by the Hawk shot there. Just constantly trying to keep eyes on this Baron. Of course, they're trying to whittle away at this MDK vision, and Betty playing with Elyoya here a little bit, but obviously not really threatening him too much at this point.
Not at all. I mean, he's really tanky. No Blade of the Ruin King on this Ashe. It's just Terminus.
It's like a little fly hitting you, man. Ashe from behind, always, the damage looks so pathetic.
This is not late game damage shredding Ashe whatsoever.
No, it's definitely tough, and he gives that full item behind where Supa is over on the other side. So if Supa's accurate with those bombs, definitely could crush him. But MDK just happy to play in this kind of specific spot. You know, they want to play around the Baron. They're happy to play it slow. They feel that they're scaling well, and they have slowly extended that gold lead. It's almost up to 6K now. Was about 5K a couple minutes ago. So it is a slight advantage that they have been able to accrue for themselves over the last couple minutes.
Yeah, and also, I don't necessarily think their Baron take is that fast. So even though they're setting up this vision, they're kind of hoping to get a fight.
As Aja trying to fight for some vision here on the side, but again, 5 MDK just playing in this topside jungle. No one answering the wave on bot side. And for now, we are going to have the Udyr running up to top to try to push that wave out once again. Now with the second dragon here spawning down on the other side, it does kind of split the attention of the teams. Maple is down there, but it's Elyoya heading down towards it as MDK looking to try to grab this. We'll see Aja with a very weird TP just towards that tier 1 mid from top. So his teleport is now gone, and Maple's on this flank.
I mean, Maple's just trying to sneak in and pull off some type of miracle. He's spotted. He's marked now by Mirwin. So this could be the fight.
There's the stun, but it's actually over onto the clone. Aja going to be having to pull back, but he takes a ton of damage there, losing about half his health. Remember, he has no TP. He used that just to go from one tier 1 to the other. And I think that's going to do it for the fight, as after that chunk out onto him, PSG will just be backing it up, not able to really find anything.
So we've had no kills for about 8 minutes now, I want to say, because MDK is just setting up zones, daring PSG to walk in, and then PSG is just kind of not willing to int their faces off, so they're slowly losing the game. And I do applaud the patience, actually, from MDK at the moment, because if they do just do the same thing for the next 5 minutes and get the Mountain Soul, then it's much safer to get really aggressive.
Exactly. I mean, if you feel you're outscaling, there's no reason to risk anything, right? Just sit back, farm it out, control those space on the map, force your opponents to come into you, and like you say, 4.5 minutes, PSG is going to have to kind of draw a line in the sand at some point, decide what are we willing to challenge for, because MDK may not be willing to threat the Baron, but we know they are definitely willing to do that Dragon here. And we'll see if PSG can get some vision down towards it. Plus, if PSG overcommits down towards that side, there is the chance of MDK just taking a Baron. Well, PSG isn't even on soul point.
Yeah, I mean, even just the 3 mountains, an additional 15% armor and MR on everyone, that's... I mean, the Soul's going to make it even stronger, a 4 mountain Soul if they get it, but they're already hugely advantaged in an actual 5v5 scrap.
And Supa's got his Seekers now as well, so he's not going to be even difficult to stay alive. You know, if they do find him, we can see Mirwin jumping in onto Aja. They're going to look for him. They stun him into the wall, and he is just getting erased. The true damage comes through. Betty flashes out from the Impale, but doesn't even have enough damage to really threaten Elyoya. It doesn't look like it just yet, but now the Cyclone coming through from Junja. Alvaro trying to threaten on the side, does land the Shattering Strike, and a nice setup from him. It's a dump from the Ziggs. The ulti over the top gets multiple kills. MDK are going to close out game number 1.
Beautiful final fight here from Mad. They were ahead early. It got a little hairy in the mid game, but ultimately another solid game. They stay undefeated in playing so far.
It's a great start to the series from MDK, a back and forth game, but Mad took over in the late game, choking out PSG, not giving them any options. When PSG finally exposed themselves, Mad pounce, burst down the Udyr, take the team fight. They'll take the Nexus, end game number 1, and move 1 game away from the World Swiss stage.
Big credit to Alvaro in this game. I feel like he found a lot of the big engages. He had the crucial interrupt on the Akali ult in the top lane that I think turned the tide for a lot of this game. And then also Supa Ziggs just playing the meta, even though he didn't have a bunch of experience on it in the regular season, and playing it well.
Yep, well, that's going to do it for us. We're going to head to a break, and we'll be back for game number 2.